Let's begin by adopting a comfortable posture. Take 3 deep breaths. Releasing with each out breath any physical tension, any muscles that we find with tightness. Especially the muscles around the eyes, jaw, shoulders, and back. Allow your body, your breath, and your mind to settle in their natural state of relaxation, stillness, and silence. Let your breath self-regulate, become natural. Let's set our motivation. May our practice lead us to cultivate greater well-being, the causes of happiness and fulfillment. So that we can bring benefit to the world and those around us. Now let's spend a few minutes just resting, fully present. Noticing the sensations of the breath in our bodies, or observing closely the space of the mind and any mental events arising in that space, or simply being aware of being aware. Any method of your choice to cultivate calm abiding. If your mind wanders, is carried away by thoughts, sounds, or any other stimuli, just notice it and gently bring it back to your meditation object, releasing and relaxing. If you see any signs of dullness, laxity, sinking, or spacing out, correct your posture. Breathe in deeply. Refocus your attention with interest, with curiosity, becoming lucid, awake, engaged, moment by moment, with your meditation object, as if it were the first time you notice it. And if you are already centered in the flow, do not over apply antidotes, but just rest and enjoy being present without worries, without concerns. Just here and now, resting. Now let's remember that the bodhicitta is the altruistic intention to attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings most effectively. And the foundation for bodhicitta is equanimity. So let's practice equanimity. Let's begin by visualizing a friend, someone you like, someone you love, someone for whom you experience agreeable feelings. Imagine this person very clearly in front of you. And now, next to this person, visualize someone that is a stranger, someone you don't have much interaction with, or someone who you don't consider neither a friend or relative, nor an enemy or someone hostile, just a stranger. Now, next to this person, visualize a difficult person, someone you have difficulty with, someone that you consider an enemy, or just someone hostile. It can be someone you don't like, or someone that doesn't like you. Now, ask yourself, why do I feel attachment for my friend or relative? And listen to the reasons your mind gives. Now, ask, why do I have aversion toward the difficult person? And listen to the reasons that arise in your mind. And finally, explore, why am I apathetic or indifferent toward the stranger? What word do you keep hearing in all these reasons? On what basis does your mind consider someone good, bad, or neutral? Friend, disagreeable person, or stranger? Ask, is it realistic to judge others based on how they relate to me? Are others really good, bad, or neutral from their own side? Or is your mind that is categorizing them as such? Ask, how would others appear to you if you stop discriminating them based on your own selfish opinions, needs, and wants? Reflect on how the relationships of friend, difficult person, and stranger change constantly. One person can be all three within a short period of time. If someone hit you yesterday and praises you today, and another person praised you yesterday and hits you today, which is your friend and which is the difficult person? Acknowledging that your attitudes create the seemingly solid relationships of friend, difficult person, and stranger. Let go of the attachment, anger, and apathy towards them. Let yourself feel an open-hearted concern for all beings. To feel that all sentient beings, friends, strangers, difficult people, self and others, are equally worthy of respect and help and are equally valuable. Contemplate the following points. All beings want to be happy and try to avoid pain as intensely as we do. From now on, try to look at each individual you see with this thought in mind. We can also think that 10 patients may suffer from different illness, but they all want to be cured. Similarly, sentient beings have different problems, but all equally want to be free from them. So there is no reason for us to be partial, thinking some beings are more important than others. Ten beggars may need different things, but all want to be happy. Similarly, each sentient being may want different things, but they all want to be happy. So it would be unfair for us to have a discriminatory attitude, helping some and ignoring others. So many beings have helped us so much. The mere fact that we've been able to stay alive since birth is due to the efforts of others. Think of all the help you have received throughout your lifetime. Even if some people have harmed us, the benefit we receive from them outweighs this. Holding grudges against those who have harmed us is counterproductive. So let the wish to help others arise in your heart. Let go of any wish for revenge or retaliation for past harms. Think that we must work to eliminate the suffering of all equally and help all equally. And although we cannot do this externally, we can hold this attitude internally. So rest in that wish, in that aspiration. Let the image of these three people dissolve. Wish them well. And come to rest in the present. Let's finish dedicating this practice so we can continue cultivating great equanimity until we can dissolve completely the labels of friends, enemies, and strangers, and we can see all sentient beings as our brothers and sisters. Let's dedicate our merit to all of them equally. May they find the causes of happiness. May they cultivate them. And may they be liberated from suffering. And stretch a little bit and come back. Open your eyes. So this equanimity is one of the 4 immeasurable attitudes or 4 immeasurable thoughts, the 4 Brahma Viharas, right? So we know is that evenness that is help us release attachment and release aversion, and also not being different, but be interested in others and caring. So dissolving that ignorance that makes us go into our bubble and forget that we are interdependent and connected to all other sentient beings. So when you start practicing this equanimity, if you start trying to release that attachment you have to your friends and loved ones, they might interpret it as indifference or like you don't care about them anymore, because we are used to be entangled with that attachment and to manipulate each other and to demand that our friends are there always, they're available for us. And they expect the same, or our relatives. And culturally, the expectations may vary from society to society, to country, from country to country. But sometimes expectations of your role in that family or in that friendship or in that social interaction you have might be a lot for you, right? And sometimes we force ourselves to do things that we don't want because we think that's expected from us. But we also are part of the situation, right? We also force others to do things they don't want because all this attachment. So when you start noticing the ways that attachment makes us act and demand, we want to start practicing equanimity. And this means start caring for others too. But there might be an adaptation process there because you're willing to put limits, to say no, and to not be so affected by that bond of attachment, but make others not feel that you don't care, just that you want a healthy relationship. You don't want to live with attachment and relate with attachment with them, but you want to keep the love. You still wish them that they are happy, and you do whatever is in your hands to help them be happy. But not that happiness that we talked, that is merely hedonistic and that comes from attachment, right? So if you love very much someone and they want to get intoxicated with alcohol or any drugs, and you say, I love you so much, I'm going to bring it to you, I'm going to give you the alcohol and encourage you. Well, that's not love, right? It's like help them with their addictions and attachments, but in the long term, you're contributing to their suffering. So in that way, we have to question what is the best way to help them, and can I help them? Or maybe it's not in our hands right now. So by practicing and releasing that attachment, we might start helping them and having those meaningful aspirations, but maybe we can't do too much to alleviate all their problems. Or we can't solve all the problems of the world. Right now we don't have any means or capacity maybe. Or maybe we can do a little bit, but not solve all the problems in the world. But that doesn't stop us from wishing we could and keep doing these aspirations, that people find peace, that they find happiness. Because if we train in that way, whenever we have the opportunity to do something, we will do it automatically because we are aligned with that purpose. In the same way, when we perceive people as enemies, we are rejecting, we are fighting or pushing away because that sense of self is hurt or is defending or is protecting. So it can be very difficult to change our perception if the other person is attacking us or criticizing us or acting in ways that are not ethical, right? But still, we can connect from our hearts and see them cultivating the causes of their suffering, see that they are acting due to being dominated by mental afflictions, and wish them that they be free from those mental afflictions and stop hurting themselves, stop hurting you, stop hurting others. And in that way, you can start wishing them well, right? And dissolve that anger, that aversion, and transform it into compassion. And if you can, into loving kindness, wishing them well, wishing them that they too find the causes of happiness. And when we see strangers, not just being indifferent and treat them like they are androids or robots, or they're just there to help you whenever you need, but you don't see them as sentient beings, including animals, insects, so many sentient beings that we consider strangers because they don't affect too much our lives in a positive or a negative way, so we don't care about them. But if they do something that we perceive slightly negative, they start going to the spectrum of enemies. We start putting them in that group. But then if we see that they do something kind, something nice, we start putting them in the friend label, in the friend category, right? So we're always labeling in basis of how much you can give me, how much I can get from you. Can you make me happy? Can you be my friend? Can you bring some benefit to my life? Or are you going to be problems? Are you going to judge me? Are you going to be an obstacle? And immediately we label, right? But these labels can change. The stranger might be very kind to us, start having some actions that we consider positive or agreeable, and then we say, this person now deserves my label friend because they've been helpful, right? And then if they ignore us, or they don't care, or they just not bring anything, we might start putting the label enemy, because this person who is not interested in me, that I'm so important, I'm the center of the universe, right? So we start labeling as enemies. And then, but then that happens with the other too, right? Like the enemy doesn't have to be like enemy, because that might be a label that we see as very strong, and we might think, I don't have enemies, I'm such a good person. But any person that we feel a little rejection, aversion, resentment, any kind of feeling that is disagreeable or negative, that's what we mean by enemy. Someone that you don't like, or they don't like you, and you don't like that they don't like you, right? So, but then suddenly that person can have an act of generosity to you. So how would you react if that person that considers you an enemy or doesn't like you suddenly come and gives you a gift, or has an action that is beneficial for you? Oh, now you pass it to the category friends, or you give them the chance to be in the stranger category, right? And then if the friend starts demanding too much from you, or betrays you, what you consider betrayal of what you expected to be loyalty, and they start hanging out with another friend, or they leave you, or they don't call you as much, or they tell you no when you ask that they do something for you. They put a limit to your demands or your expectations. Then you start putting that person that was friend or relative, loved one, you kick them out of your team, right? Of my people. Then you don't belong to my people anymore, to my friends, to my group. And now you are a stranger or an enemy. And so we're labeling and changing these labels. They can change in one day, right? It's amazing. When you go to a retreat where you don't have some interaction, like here, that you had the first weeks to know each other and talk a little bit. When you go to a retreat and immediately you are in silence, you never talk with the other people, so you don't know anything. You haven't even heard their voice. We make so much assumptions just by hearing their voices and the way they speak. And so we start making all these assumptions about each person and thinking we know them. And we say, I like this, I don't like this, I don't care about this. We put labels. But then when the retreat finishes and you have the opportunity to talk with all of them, you start changing the labels, because you realize the person you thought they were like very angry and very bad person, it was just their resting face. But they're very kind to you and very loving, and then you realized it was all a fantasy in your mind. Or the person that was smiling to you and you thought they were very nice, you meet them and you put the label, I don't want you as a friend, right? So we do this all the time with people we see in the street, people we see in the TV, people we meet in a party. Immediately we put these labels everywhere. And this is the cause of so many problems in the world, so many wars, because we say, this is my family, and those families are my enemies. Or this is my country, this is my people, and this is the border. And if you step into this border, we're going to make a war, because you think differently, you dress differently, you look differently, you speak another language, so you are not my people, right? But when we see these movies where the aliens invade us, then we are all friends, family, we are, how do you say, earthens, or what is the word? Like, we are family, right? And now we have to fight. When you see in the movies, all the governments and all the scientists from all the countries, they come together to fight the aliens, because now they're them against us. So we're doing this all the time with these labels, and it creates so much division and so much problems. So equanimity is creating that base, that foundation, where you start noticing those labels and emotions, but instead of believing them and putting them, you start dissolving and evening. And when you see your loved ones or your friends, yeah, there's a special connection there, because you might have something, a project together, or you live in the same house or anything. And you interact more with them, maybe. Or maybe they're your children, you have a responsibility to them. But now you see them like sentient beings, that they want to be happy, they suffer, they also have mental afflictions, and you don't get so entangled. And if they make a huge drama because you want to spend Christmas in a retreat, well, you explain to them that they don't have to make a big drama, because it's your life, right? You do it in harmony, but you also release the attachment. And then if you find strangers, you see them as brothers and sisters, and you come and open your heart to them and get an interest in their lives, and try to connect and see this person, how they live. When you walk out and walk here in the village, and you see the people, and you see how they live, how must have been their lives, and you start getting interested in them, right? And wishing them well. And then if there were someone that you consider enemies or hostile, or you had rejection, you might not be able to come, maybe a bit fake if you come and start smiling or trying to hug them or giving them something. Maybe it doesn't come from your heart, but you can do it in your meditation. Start visualizing them and wishing them. May you be free of mental afflictions. May you be free of creating suffering for others. May you be free of these actions and negativities. May you find peace. May you find wisdom. May you become a generous person. So these are good wishes to think about them. And by doing that meditation, you start releasing those that strong label and that barrier, and you say, this being, they deserve to be happy. They deserve to be free of suffering. And so when you interact with that person, you're going to be more patient, more caring. you're going to try to solve whatever discussion or problem you have. Okay? So this equanimity will help us also navigate life, right? With those ups and downs. When people come and praise us and tell us that we are wonderful and that they like us very much, we'll say, okay, tomorrow, who knows? Tomorrow they might not like me and criticize me, right? So you don't take it so seriously, you don't get that self-aggrandizement, that ego, disproportionate pride, right? But you say, okay, they are praising some actions or some words I said or something I did, but that's not me, I, or mine. It's just things that arise and pass, right? So what they're praising is maybe a quality they appreciate and that they also have. So you keep your feet on the ground and you remain equanimous. And then if someone come and criticize you and tells you how terrible you are and all the things they don't like about you, you don't break down. You say, well, that's their perception. That's their way of labeling. That's what they are seeing. I'm going to try to check if some of those things are true. Maybe I can change them. But if they're not, and then they will be my teachers, and I would appreciate because I learned something. But if they're saying things that I know they're not true, then why would I get angry? Or why would I get worried? I'm just going to keep my equanimity, right? And if we see strangers, that they perceive us as strangers, and they don't have interest in us, or they don't care about us, or they're indifferent to us, we take a step forward and we try to get an interest in them and to see them as friends, not as attached friends, but as someone that deserves love and happiness and to be free of suffering, and we want to be how we can help them and not see them as strangers anymore, but as part of that big family. So in that way we start navigating life in a way that whatever obstacle or whatever benefit we face, we just remain in equanimity because we know it will pass, it will change, and we need to keep our center, right? So, practice this not necessarily only in the cushion. You can do this when you are outside in between sessions, integrating with the world, with other sentient beings. When you go to the kitchen and see the people that very kindly are cooking for us every day. So, even if you don't speak to them, start feeling that appreciation and connection with them and wishing them well and feeling that gratitude. And if you go out and see the animals, think of their life and think if the sufferings they might experience and cultivate compassion. And if you go to the village too, think of the people, right? And if someone, maybe you don't have many enemies here, I hope, but if you, maybe a memory of someone that is you have a problem with comes to mind, then it's a time to cultivate that loving kindness and compassion for them from here, from your retreat. Connect from the heart, okay? So practice every time you have an opportunity, and in between sessions also observe your mind. Don't let it just wander. We don't want to be too strict that we want to do a practice in between sessions and we are listening that voice that now learned a lot of words and dharma and now is talking and telling us, you're such a bad practitioner, you should sit and meditate. You should be meditating now too. Why are you hiking, or why are you reading, or like that thinking mind? Don't indulge in those thoughts, and don't get totally distracted. Bring back and connect to your breath, connect to the present, to the sounds, but because you want that sanity, and you want to merge your practice with your post-meditation sessions, but very gradually and naturally. Those times are also to be relaxed and to do something you enjoy and to take care of yourself and sit and walk and do whatever you feel like doing in the moment, not be too strict, okay? And then practice this equanimity whenever you can, and that will be the foundation for all the other practices to flourish. So do you have any question or comment? Yes?
Yeah, I actually did this, like now before the New Year's Eve. I wished my ex-wife now all these good wishes, even to the equanimity, because I know this meditation. I did it this and Tonglen for her and everything. And at the time I felt really good. It was like couple days before, and then New Year's Eve. But then on the New Year's Eve, my mind, my ego, and I guess ego mostly, kind of revolted very much and prepared a whole New Year's Eve party for me. A lot of anger, like all the layers, all the reconstruction of how she cheated on me, she left me, she betrayed me, everything. Like it happened like yesterday, although it happened like 5 months ago. So how then this is like what? How should I understand this? This is like a counter-attack of the ego when you kind of open your heart to the person who hurt you, and then you get back this lash out from the subconscious or ego, or I don't know.
Yeah, it's a process. We all have challenging people in our lives. It's very difficult not to find that someone has hurt us or harmed us, even maybe recently, or it can be a long time ago, but we still hurt by it, right? And it's a process of doing the meditations again and again and healing. But it's true. Sometimes because we're observing our minds and our emotions are coming to the surface, something might just come like a wave and taking us from our balance, from our center, and just grabbing us and turn us around and leave us in the beach all damaged, right? But we need to learn to remain in that equanimity so that when this wave of emotions come, it's just like it comes, it's turbulent for a moment or for days maybe, but we know it's going to pass. So we don't let that wave of emotions just drag us. And if it happens, because we are not trained yet, we just recognize I've been dragged by those emotions, all this came up, and I'm going to work again with my mind to find a peace, because I know that it's not that person, it's not the event, it's not the circumstance, it's that I'm deciding to give power to these emotions to push me and drag me. So I'm going to practice again and find that balance, that equanimity, by releasing that attachment and practicing how to transform attachment, how to let it arise and pass. And the same with anger, because attachment and anger are very connected, right? So sometimes it arises like attachment. I still need something from that person, or remembering the good moments and the attachment arising. And then sometimes like anger, and feeling like they betray us, we had expectations and they didn't act it in the way that they should, or that is ethical, and we feel all this anger. So don't repress the emotion. Don't push it away and say, I'm a meditator, I shouldn't feel anything, I should repress that and be equanimous, because that's not healthy to push it down or reject it. Let it be there, be totally present with the emotion, like this wave that comes and passes. Observe the emotion. And then if it's too strong, you can start doing antidotes or transforming, focusing on your breath, or going for a walk, focusing on your feet. Let the emotion calm down. And then start practicing the compassion and the loving kindness, because in the moment you might not be able. You say, I don't want to practice loving kindness to this person that they hurt me. So if it's not natural, don't do it, right? Try other methods. Each one of us can learn what works best for us at the different stages of the emotion. When the emotion is triggered, it's kind of like a little fire. It starts there. It usually comes because a thought came first, or a memory. But then, as we think more about it, it's like the forest starts getting on fire to a point where no matter what we do, like if it's a little fire, we could just put the foot and step on it and pacify it very fast. If we're mindful, we see that fire starting, and instead of feeding it with more thoughts and memories and ideas, we just step on it by putting an antidote, by taking our attention and focusing on the breath, by connecting to our senses, to the sounds, reading, writing, doing something to make that fire go, right? But if it's already burning and we try to contain the emotion, that's not healthy. And we can't stop the fire once it's burning all the forest, but we can be fully present and say, okay, fire, burn me, I'm here. I'm not going to push you away, but I am also not going to keep feeding you with more thoughts and ideas of revenge or resentment or anything. I'm just going to be fully present with emotion. You can also observe the emotion and say, where is it? Where do I feel it? Is it in my body? Like do it vipashyana with emotion, right? Is it my body? Is it mine? Is it I? Is it big? Is it small? Is it in my belly? Is it in my head? Kind of try to look at it very, very closely. That's why the shamatha that we're practicing to refine our mind like a laser, you put it into the emotion, and the more you look for it, the less you find it. It's empty. It starts vanishing. You cannot grab it. You cannot solidify it. When you less expect it, it's not there because it was never there. It's also an empty appearance, right? And what is left is an aspect of the primordial consciousness, which is a lot of clarity, a lot of vividness, a lot of lucidity. So you can rest in the clarity of the mind because you were not falling asleep in your meditation. Now your mind is very sharp and awake. So you don't need to cultivate vividness. It's right there. So take the opportunity to be there as long as it lasts. So is transforming, is applying antidotes, or is letting it be there, handshaking the emotion, opening the space to feel it. And it might be scary to let a strong emotion arise and be fully present and feeling it. We don't want to feel it. We want to push it away. But if you stay there and feel it, it won't have the power to affect you, to damage you. And so we need to process so much all our lives. So being a meditator, practitioner, doesn't mean that now you are a saint, that you never get angry, that you let everybody step on you, and you can't react, you can't have any emotions, because then you're such a bad meditator, such a bad practitioner. No. You still experience those emotions. They still arise. You might still sometimes get hooked with the emotion and start acting out of it, dominated by it. But the moment you notice, you start practicing, you start working with that energy, transforming it. And you can transform that energy into something meaningful, into action. You can go running, you can write poetry or paint or do something that canalizes all that energy, right? But you try to the best of your ability to not harm, not hit, not scream, not... maybe you have to act sometimes with wrathful compassion, right? And that's also a quality of the mind. The compassion that puts limits. If you see someone hitting children or doing something terrible, you know that person is creating causes for their suffering and for others. And if you have the possibility, you don't say, oh, I see how you're hurting those children. I'm not going to do anything because I practice loving kindness and compassion, right? Maybe you have to act very strong and put a stop, but you do it out of compassion. Externally, it might look like anger, but you're not really angry. You're acting out of loving kindness and compassion. Like when you see a kid that is going to step into the road and there's cars passing and you grab them and bring them and you scold them. It's out of love and not out of caring. But sometimes you have to do an action that requires a lot of energy. But trying not to hurt and harming others. Sometimes you have to put a limit, but do it with care, with loving kindness, and always come back to that center of equanimity. If we're able to act from there, we will make wiser decisions. But sometimes we're triggered. The episode was triggered so fast, and we're already in an emotional episode. So it's a process of being there present and healing it with a lot of loving kindness for ourselves too and compassion. So if it's overwhelming, you can say, may I be free of this anger, of these feelings? May I let go of this situation? May I close the cycle? May I forgive and let go and find peace? And by wishing that to you, and doing the visualization of the breathing and dissolving that smoke and filling your body with light. And if you feel like you can't do it yourself, you can imagine all the enlightened beings sending you light, asking them, hey, help me, right? And just caring and being very loving to yourself and talking to you nicely, not saying you're such a bad practitioner because you are angry or you have pain. No, we have to take care of ourselves too in order to learn how to be caring with others, right? So slowly and patiently, and these things heal, but with time. I have a student that, I use this metaphor of like a wave. How do you say it? Like the wave turns you around, right? Or passes you and grabs you and you have no control. But she uses this, I like her metaphor, because she feels like there's like a lot of horses behind her running is the motion, right? It's coming. She sees the motion coming, and she's like trying to run and escape the motion, but eventually those horses reach her, and they put her in the floor and step on her and pass, right? So the moment the motion is passing, those horses are passing over you, that you feel like you're never gonna be able to stand up again. You feel crushed, you feel the pain of all those horses passing on top of you, but then eventually they pass. And then you stand again and you keep going, right? So it can be quite overwhelming when a strong emotion arises. And all the practices here are there to help us. They're not to memorize and say, oh, I want to do this practice now. I should do this practice. I should do this other practice. Just because you have a schedule or a discipline. They are all there to assist us in different times of our life and our day. So if we learn them well, they will start arising automatically when the emotion is triggered, because we've been training. So, and then sometimes we say, right now, compassion is what the best practice for me. Or right now I need to handshake my emotion. Or right now I need to go for a walk and be mindful, practicing mindfulness of breathing. And then all of them are there to assist us in different moments.